You to the dedication of the enslaved people of George Mason Memorial, the centerpiece of our new Wilkins Plaza. Now, before we begin, let me acknowledge a few folks. George Mason University's president, Dr. Gregory Washington. The members of the Board of Visitors. The Board of Trustees, the Mason Alumni Association Board, the President's Council, David Meyer, Mayor of the City of Fairfax, so lovely to have you, and donors to the memorial, and the honored friends and guests. Thank you all truly for joining us on this special occasion. I also want to thank Reverend Jeffery Johnson, he is the pastor of Mount Calvary Baptist Church, which is located right next to campus on School Street, from whom you'll hear from a bit later. Now, this plaza is named for Dr. Roger Wilkins. The late Roger Wilkins, who was the nephew of CORE founder Roy Wilkins. Roy Wilkins was a titan of the civil rights struggle, a Pulitzer Prize winning journalist for the Washington Post. Roger Wilkins helped to expose the Watergate, and he was a beloved Robinson Professor of History here at George Mason. And in Roger Wilkins' 2002 book, Jefferson's Pillow, Dr. Wilkins described the stark contradiction of America's founding fathers. They, quote, celebrated freedom, Wilkins wrote, while, quote, stealing the substance of life from the people they owned, end quote. It is this complicated legacy that Wilkins and all of us in the United States are now compelled to consider each and every single day. And in 2017, I was privileged with my colleagues to be here when we introduced the Wilkins Plaza project to the family of Roger Wilkins and the broader community. And on that day, we anticipated this moment. And it's been a long time coming, truly, but we are here. 5 years later, we have come together once again to dedicate this memorial to honor the lives of those enslaved by George Mason IV, this university's namesake. When we began our research, we did not imagine it would lead us to this moment. This project began as a student-led inquiry that turned into the Enslaved Children of George Mason project. That, in turn, led to the Enslaved People of George Mason Memorial that you see today. Key to this effort were the students working through Mason's Office of Student Scholarship, Creative Activities, and Research. Alexis Bracy, Amen Fatima, Kai Ferro, Farhaj Marshad, and Elizabeth Perez Garcia. Myself, Benedict Carton, a faculty member in the History and Art History Department, George Oberly, Mason's History Librarian and faculty member in the Department of History and Art History, were the faculty leaders. And the three of us are also a part of the Center for Mason's Legacies, an interdisciplinary research center established by the University Library and College of Humanities and Social Sciences. that encourages student research to preserve and examine the legacy of George Mason IV and the people he enslaved. Our research resulted in the discovery of the names of the enslaved. We discovered a young man named James, George Mason's personal attendant, and we discovered Penny, a child given by Mason to his daughter, and many others who were not recognized or acknowledged. Through research, scholarship, and the support of so many people, many of you are here today, their names have been etched on this beautiful and important memorial. So thank all of you. Thank you. Get a little choked up. Thank you for joining us today to honor Dr. Wilkins and the enslaved people of George Mason. Your presence honors their legacies, and discovery helps us to understand more about our nation and our namesakes' complicated history. It is now my pleasure to introduce the director of the Center for Mason Legacies and History librarian, Dr. George Oberle.
Good afternoon. I am honored to be with you, and I'm so happy to see this memorial come to fruition. 6 years ago, our undergraduate students began a journey of discovery. They asked faculty members, their classmates, and graduate students to join on this journey. That journey had a specific purpose, a purpose to learn more about George Mason, his 18th century life, and we wanted to know more about the people who were intersected in that life. Research in the archives branched into discussions with a range of expert scholars. What resulted is a work of art and memory, drawing on the talents of gifted designers, Kathy Wolf-Pinsky, program director at Mason Facilities, Stephanie Wolfgang, the senior landscape architect at Perkins and Will, among them, and the meticulous artisans from Whiting and Turner who built this beautiful Wilkins Plaza. Let's thank them all for their incredible work and for the time that they invested in bringing this and their dedication to creating this beautiful memorial. Now I want to introduce my colleague and co-contributor, Benedict Carton, who is a professor of history and art history at George Mason.
Good afternoon. Thank you for being part of this dedication to student inquiry and historical remembrance. The enslaved people of George Mason Memorial reflects many obligations, but principally the commitment to honor the lives of people impaneled and named in Wilkins Plaza, and to rediscover through future research the experience of their friends, siblings, mothers, fathers, and family guardians, and above all, descendant communities. Some of the spirit of our inquiry leading to this moment was captured in a pamphlet titled The Appeal, authored in 1829 by David Walker. He urged Americans to embrace a brave duty to create sites like the Enslaved People of George Mason Memorial that display the strictest rules of evidence and truth without fear or favor. Thank you for witnessing this monument in the center of our campus as a community bound by your duty, evidence, and truth.
Thank you, George and Ben. They have been the best colleagues, so truly thank you. Student research was instrumental in the success of this project. Ferro, now a Mason alum, was one of the 5 incredible students who joined the Oscar research team in the summer of 2017. And this is not in the script, but I'll just tell you, I think we had those students read like 20 books in 2 weeks to prepare them to go into the archives. So Kai is an incredible scholar. And I am proud to have him share his reflections with all of us today.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Ferro, and I am so excited to take part in this dedication. All of this started as a student research project in which our purpose was to raise awareness about George Mason the man, the patriot, and as well as the slaveholder. We focused on deepening and expanding our community's understanding of George Mason and the people he enslaved. We hope that through our research, we could bring to light those who often stand in history's shadow. This memorial fulfills the charge of our project. It is designed to place the voices of those enslaved in dialogue with the traditional voice of George Mason. As one of 5 students who worked on this project, I am so grateful to have participated in this research that served to reclaim the names of those enslaved. As a Mason alum, I am proud that my university was willing to bring to light this part of George Mason's history as well as the history of those he enslaved. I'm grateful to be a part of this community that is willing to engage in open and informed evidence-based dialogue. That is who we are as scholars and students at Mason, an institution that promotes honest inquiry and is open to following the history, no matter where the history takes us. Thank you again, everyone.
Okay. So thank you, Kai, for your scholarship and contributions to this project. And as I mentioned earlier, private support made all the difference in bringing this memorial to fruition. So please join me in welcoming Trishana Bowdoin, Vice President of Advancement and Alumni Relations and President of George Mason University Foundation.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am so honored to be here with you at this event. We are here for a time such as this. It is pretty incredible. As Dr. Manuel Scott said, I'm Trishana Bowdoin, and I serve, and I use that word intentionally, serve as your Vice President of Advancement and Alumni Relations. First and foremost, I want to say thank you to each one of you in attendance for being here today. It says so much. Thank you to our leadership, our volunteer leadership, members of the Board of Visitors, the Board of Trustees, our Alumni Association, and our university leadership. Thank you for your support and for being here today and for recognizing the significance of this project. And a very special thanks to Dr. Wendy Manuel Scott, Dr. George Oberly, Dr. Ben Carton, Ferro, and everyone else involved with the project for the vision they had to make this memorial a reality. This project is so incredibly special. In fact, to me, it was a sign that I was in the right home at George Mason University. When I came to George Mason in 2019, within my first week, I had a Board of Trustees meeting. It was in that meeting that Dr. Wendy Manuel Scott and Julia Williams presented this very initiative. It was listening to their passion, knowledge, and oration that I was moved. Literally, as tears rolled down my face, I knew I had made the right decision. I remember thinking, I am in the right place. I knew I was at a university that not only was the most diverse in the Commonwealth, but also looked at its history and allowed its faculty, its staff, and its students to do real, poignant, and critical examinations of its past. That was a real moment for me. And I want us to realize we are in another moment right now. The ability to memorialize great lives and recognize them as such, to find their stories filled with hardship, with inequity, and brutality, the brutality of slavery, yet allow them to peacefully rest and be risen up in this memorial at this university. It is a great moment. When I look around at my colleagues, our students, and Mason, I can't help but consider, I wonder, what would Penny and James think? I imagine it would be really hard for them to put into words their feelings, knowing that their lives are permanently being memorialized at our university, and quite honestly, with an African American man as our president. We are at a university where people, regardless of their race, are welcomed and encouraged to study and aspire to be whatever they can dream. At a place just 18 miles from Gunston Hall, where George Mason made his life upon the backs of slaves, they will forever be remembered and honored as the heroes they are. And they are able to represent the other enslaved people just as deserving of this too. I truly hope they would also be as struck as I am at this important initiative that is happening right now. As the United States has come a long way from slavery, it is still not a perfect union. We have further to go regarding justice, civil rights, and equality. We cannot move forward without knowing where we have come from. Those who refuse to acknowledge the past are condemned to repeat it. This project has allowed our students to educate us, to enlighten us, and to teach us how to keep moving forward and how to remember and honor our past. This incredibly important work wouldn't be possible without those who believed in it and supported it. Today is possible due to the donors who trust in this work, who believe in learning about the past, and believe in the future of this university. Every gift to this project has helped make today possible. Your support, their support, has made this project imaginable. And your continued support will sustain the memorial and also allow all to see who it can reflect on in the lives of the enslaved people of George Mason and ensure that their lives, and most importantly, their stories, are never forgotten. So I encourage you, as you reflect on our history, as you think about what James and Penny might possibly feel, and as you envision our future, ask yourself, how can you continue to support this project, this university, and the region's future? It is through your giving you can help honor those from our past while improving the lives of those in our future. Not all of us can dig through archives or examine the wills of the founding fathers. However, we can give, we can care, and we can help fund those who do what is necessary and do what we cannot. Together, we can make more studies, projects, and quite frankly, more dreams possible. Dreams that I think Penny and James would be so proud of. So I thank you, And it is truly my pleasure now to introduce to you a man I know would make Kenny and James so proud, Mason's 8th president, our very own Dr. Gregory Washington.
Thank you, Trishana. Now, this is a great day for George Mason, right? Come on now. Look, this is, I get that this is a dedication and there is a base level of seriousness, but this is also a celebration. I mean, look, we got water, we got a Reverend. You mean at the end of this thing, we're going to start doing baptisms or something. This is a good time. We're going to celebrate. Look, I want to thank and congratulate everyone who made this event possible. And it's great that this is the cornerstone of our 50th celebration. You know, in particular, I would be remiss if I didn't acknowledge the individuals that made this possible. Look around, isn't this great? Give them all a round of applause. Wendy Manuel Scott, Ben Carton, George Orley, and we couldn't do this. You know, we always talk about students first, and we talk about engaging the grand challenges, and we talk about positioning our students to deal with the issues of our day, right? This is a testament to that outcome. Ferro. And at the end of the day, you need great scholars, but you need administrators and supporters too. It wouldn't happen, this cannot happen without the work of Kathy Pinsky. Please give Kathy Pinsky please a round of applause. And also Stephanie Wolfgang and the Perkins Will team. Please give them all a round of applause. Look, George Mason was a great patriot, but today is not the day to mythologize him. He was an enslaver of people, but we are not here today to cancel him. We are here for a much more meaningful purpose. We've come together to carry out our mission as a university and to act out of our character as a community. We are here to do what we do, which is learn and teach. We're here to learn about Penny and James and the lives and the plight of the many people whom George Mason enslaved. We're here to give them the love and the personhood they were denied when they were alive. We are here to contemplate how a person could believe so passionately in the tenets of the Bill of Rights while simultaneously holding so many souls in enslavement. And we are here to offer this contradiction as a teaching moment to the community and to the nation. The enslaved people of George Mason Memorial represents so much about who we are as a university. This memorial exemplifies the following: inquisitive students who seek truth, undergraduate research programs that support these academic pursuits, faculty who collaborate, nurture, and challenge and collaborate with our students, and a university community fueled by the shared thrill of discovery and the determination to turn their efforts into positive and sustainable change. This memorial educates us about the contradictions and complexities of George Mason, a man of the 1700s whose actions in some cases didn't match his values. But more than that, it conveys the values and actions of George Mason University in the 21st century. We grow wiser from examining our full truths, no matter how complicated, messy, or discomforting they might be. We see and feel this through our memorial. We see and feel this through our Center for Truth, Racial Healing and Transformation, one of the first of its kind in the nation. We feel and see this through our task force on anti-racism and inclusive excellence, whose charge is to root out legacies of bias in our own practices and policies. We see this through this plaza, named after civil rights icon and leader, Professor Roger Wilkins. We see and feel this through a university with diversity and inclusivity embedded in its core. I see and feel this as I stand proudly in front of you today in my own truth as Mason's first African American president. All of the scholarship and mentorship that went into bringing to life this memorial symbolizes what we value here at George Mason and what we aspire to do. And really, is there any greater example we can set forth for our student leaders? Let me ask you this question. If the largest and most diverse university in a state that has produced 7 of the first 12 presidents isn't willing to confront these challenges, who will? If a major public research university with a campus less than 7 miles from the U.S. Capitol isn't willing to confront these issues, who will? If a public university that graduates students at about the same rate, regardless of race or ethnicity, isn't willing to confront these issues, who will? If a public university whose racial and ethnic makeup personifies the fact that no more than 40% of the student body belongs to any one group, this institution personifies the nation of our future, the future of America. And if that institution isn't willing to take on these challenges, who will? If we are to become the exemplar of anti-racism and inclusive excellence, we must speak honestly about our past, our present, and our future. This memorial does all three. This is indeed a landmark day for our university. And I want to thank you all from the bottom of my heart for being here today. Give yourselves a round of applause. Now, it is my privilege to introduce you to Reverend Jeffery Johnson Sr., pastor of Mount Calvary Baptist Church here in Fairfax.
Thank you, Dr. Washington, the faculty, staff, and all of the volunteers for this great occasion. As mentioned, my name is Jeffery Johnson, and I am the current pastor of the Mount Calvary Baptist Church, a historical church with a biblical mandate. The history is that the Mount Calvary Baptist Church was established May the 16th, 1870, where emancipated citizens decided that before they would make any personal advances for their modest community, that they would build a house to worship God. And for 152 years, we have been in the city of Fairfax for the perfecting of the saints, for the work of ministry, and for the edifying of the body of Christ. We would like to join in this great spirit of this dedication in this great plaza and dedicating this memorial in honor of the enslaved people of George Mason. You lift up and you celebrate the wisdom of the late Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. who died on this day 54 years ago. Dr. King said that America is essentially a dream. It is a dream where all men of all races and of all nationalities can live together as brothers. The substance of this dream is found in the words of the Declaration of Independence, that we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, and that they are endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Then Dr. King would go on to say, very seldom, if ever, in the history of the world has a socio-political document written in such eloquent and unequivocal language the dignity and the worth of human personality. For ever since the founding fathers have dreamed this dream, America has come to use a word used by our psychiatrists and psychoanalysts as schizophrenic personality, classically divided. For indeed, slavery, segregation, and discrimination are strange paradoxes in a land conceived upon the promise that all men are created equal. And so we join with you today, and I'm not just here as a local clergyman from the Mount Calvary Baptist Church, I'm also here as a proud parent of a graduate of George Mason. For many years, students matriculating through these fine academic corridors joined us in prayer, praise, and worship at Mount Calvary, especially prior to tests and examinations. We stand as part of the history of the city of Fairfax, and we like to thank our local mayor for always dealing with all of the citizens of Fairfax as equitable individuals, that we would live together harmoniously. And he is a very fine mayor, Mayor David Minor. I think I gave him the wrong last name, but I got these notes here, I got to keep going. One of our members, Sister Geneva Collins, was a student at the Rosenwald School. And the Rosenwald schools were founded by philanthropist Julius Rosenwald for the construction of schools for African American children. And one of our legacy members, Geneva Collins, who is a beloved member to this day, was a student at that great school. Sister Collins and those who attended school with her would be amazed that Virginia's largest public research university now stands in the geographical footprint of where they were educated here in the city of Fairfax. Sister Collins is proud, and her classmates would have been proud to know that George Mason's African American graduation rate is higher than the national average. Put your hands together on that fact. And Sister Collins is proud, and her former classmates would be very proud with the current president of George Mason, Dr. Washington. And so, we celebrate the lives of James as well as Penny, and we are so proud to be part of this great celebration. I can also assure you that our ancestors, grandparents, and the previous generation would have been extremely proud of how you have brought these two legacies together. One of the great founding fathers of the United States of America, as well as the enslaved servants, who to this day have been anonymous. And we ask that you will remember that what we do here will help us to go forward in other universities and institutions, that we will not bring the founding fathers down, but in pride and dignity, we will lift their servants up. For Dr. King's dream included this, that we will one day be able to sit at the table of brotherhood with both the former slaves and the former slave owners.
Thank you, Reverend Johnson. He took us, he lifted our spirits up and out, and we are very thankful. Water has always played a significant role in the lives of Black and Indigenous peoples. The archival records tell us that in 1784, an enslaved 22-year-old Dick ran away from Mason's Gunston Hall. Dick made it across the Potomac River. And I imagine him navigating through dense thicket in the cover of night, crawling through the muck of riverbeds, and wading through waters with freedom on his mind. Oral histories tell us that just a few blocks down Chain Bridge Road in Accotink Creek, Mount Calvary Church participants, parishioners, assembled to baptize its members throughout the early 20th century. In those creek waters, at the intersections of the past and the future, African Americans claimed a physical and spiritual freedom. They found refuge and connection in the waters, crafting it into a liberatory space. Waters have a history. Waters have a history. Waters have a history. And Indigenous peoples like Black folks gathered at the edge of creeks and rivers and oceans to honor the land and ancestors. And the waters, Black and Indigenous people, that's where they meet. At the waters, Black and Indigenous peoples meet. So let us listen now to George Mason University singers, conducted by Dr. Lisa Billingham, who will perform Wade in the Water. It is an old African American spiritual that invites us to remember the beauty of blended voices and stories of freedom dreaming. The song instructs those fleeing slavery to wade in the water to escape capture. As the words of the song wash over us, think about how Dick, a young enslaved man, without ink or quill, wrote his declaration into the landscape of Virginia.
believe I've been redeemed. God's not gonna trouble the water. Just follow me down to Jordan stream. God's not gonna trouble the water. Wade in the water. Wade in the water, children. Wade in the water. God's not gonna trouble the water. God's not gonna trouble the water.
Thank you. Thank you, thank you. Beautiful. I'd like to introduce my colleague, Dr. Gabby Tyack, who will begin our Indigenous water ceremony as part of the dedication of the memorial and the honoring of the enslaved and Indigenous people who came before us.
I'd like to give greetings and thanksgivings. Thank you so much for gathering us and bringing those voices to recall why we're here and hear those voices of ancestors that come through you. It is a tremendous honor, privilege, and joy also to be here with my students from the Native American and Indigenous Alliance, NAIA, Kaylee Sang, Sarah Jefferson, and Dami Hannon. We're here to present a water ceremony. Dr. Manuel Scott and I went several weeks ago to the banks and the shores of the Potomac River right on Mason Neck to draw the water that is recalled and honored in this fountain, the very place that enslaved people had at George Mason's Gunston Hall would go to pray. It also represents a contained area of ground near the water. This site inspired people who knew Penny and James to gaze toward their origins across the Potomac River and Atlantic Ocean. The stones at the bottom of this fountain that you can see over to the other side also draw our attention not only to the swirling patterns left by sailing slave ships, but also to the circular movement of multiple diasporas, Indigenous, African, and colonial, and also knowing that spirals and circles are the way that Indigenous people order our world and our cosmos. Today, we are blending waters and we are blending worlds, thanking ancestors for the enduring life sources that the Potomac and Atlantic touch. Vitality and sorrow have been animated by these forces. We're going to take some time to wrap up to bring that very water that flows across the lands of enslavement, but also of renewal. And I'll be coming down just to explain what we're going to do. We'll be pouring the water into the gourd and then offering it into the fountain so that it brings our peoples, our histories, our memories, our lives, our futures together It's a unifying practice. It is a living and ongoing practice. This acknowledges and greets the lands surrounding this fountain that have been peopled for a millennia by the ancestral Dog people, the Rappahannock, the Pamunkey, the Upper Mattaponi, the Chickahominy, which my student Sarah is a member of that tribe, and so she brings her people with her today as well. The Eastern Chickahominy, the Nansemond, Monacan, Mattaponi, Patawomic, Nottoway, and Piscataway, and those are my people. Our very name actually means where the waters blend. That's what our name means. We'll also be lighting some sage and cedar smoke, and that helps to move the air around us and offer some tobacco to the ground, and that also brings our spirits past, present, and future together. I bring with me to speak, to give the clarity and gravitas of an eagle feather that was found right on the site where we drew the water. What was supposed to be disappeared, like our peoples, like the names of Penny, the enslaved, supposed to be erased, it comes back and it rises again and carries us with their forces. So with that, I'll go ahead and start, and just to be so intensely grateful of this moment that we have and the incredible work that's been done to bring us together today.
They're recalled, and they're with us, and we're all together as one.
Thank you, Gabby. Thank you, Dr. Tyack. Whew. Yeah. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for your attention. Thank you for your support. Thank you for your presence, bringing your full selves into this memorial event today. This concludes our dedication to the enslaved people of George Mason Memorial. I invite you all to join us for our reception and to explore the memorial and reflect on what it means to Mason and reflect on what it means to you. Thank you.